Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Beyond Max Q. I am joined today with a tremendous founder and CEO, C Guz of Octopus. Her story is I think it's a very unique one. And there's a lot of grit and determination in her story. And so I'm really excited to chat with her today about what she's building, why, and how she's been doing it. So, with that, please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Molly, for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I really enjoyed our first chat as well. So I've been really looking forward to this recording. This is C. I My journey is really a unique one, as Molly mentioned. I will leave you to it to sort of decide what kind of a unique it is because it's really been a weird journey, I would say. So, if you're a candidate listening to this, I want you to know that I have been in your shoes and I have gotten over 13,000 rejections in my own job search, which led me to be a recruiter essentially for my first startup. And then from there following, I have essentially decided to determine my career as being a recruiter. And as a recruiter, I've reviewed more than 10,000 resumes. So I was able to see that both sides of the hiring is completely broken, it is disconnected, and it's time to reestablish hiring, not as a transaction, but a partnership where the both sides essentially mutually feel seen. So what this means is, as a recruiter, you get real-time insights before every conversation so that every conversation that you have with every candidate is meaningful. And as a candidate, you should know how you fit the requirements before hopping in an interview where you're feeling more prepared to have the first interview. So as Octopus, we are really, we say that tentacles, we developed our tentacles because arms and hands were really not enough for this mission because hiring has been broken for decades and we've been using resumes since Da Vinci. And we really believe that it is time for a change. And we're so honored to be leading this movement with you of humanizing recruitment.
I love that. Thank you. As a perfect synopsis, like a short summary of what you're doing, but I feel like there's so much more to it. I would love for you to dive in a little bit, like how does Octopus work with job seekers, but then also companies?
Absolutely. So I'm going to take you to the whole problem and sort of give you an overview of how tools today work. Majority of the tools before LLMs, sort of emerged, it was really for companies, and then it really discarded that company, the candidate experience. Applicant tracking systems, for example, like Team Taylor, was able to make a difference in the space by seeing the candidates and giving them the space to really show how they're able to qualify for the role beyond their resume. So that was really the first applicant tracking system that focused on that candidate experience genuinely. But besides that, we have built our recruitment tools to reject candidates and filter on outdated methods that don't really predict that future fit or job fit, rather. What we have is, I call them expensive Excel sheets, basically. Like all of these applicant tracking systems have these layered CSVs on top of each other, and essentially they're there to help you move candidates from one stage to another, but they don't give you the tools to really tell what makes them the right fit for your organization. And let me tell you, we haven't really collected that data. I don't know why, for example, if I wanted to hire Molly as a marketer, why she would be the right fit if I'm, let's say, a retail media startup in Series A stage. How does her experience, how does her inclination, her transferable skills work for my company? So we haven't really collected that data, and that's one problem essentially that's inspired us. We work currently with companies because we believe the way to build a sustainable change in this system and essentially rebuild the system. And the way to do it is to directly work with companies and essentially have them have these insights and full ownership, full customization over their own hiring process and pre-vetting process. And then from there, what happens is candidates get limited access to the platform. They are able to submit a pre-interview, and essentially this helps them understand how they are qualified for the job, and for recruiters to understand, hey, should I actually talk to this candidate? Because every unqualified candidate that we're able to remove, the company is able to save the company more than 20 hours, because that's how much it takes actually across different stages. Let's say you sent them a case study and now someone has to, with that case study, to review that case study. You want someone to interview with the manager and then the VP. This means that they also have to invest in their time in preparing for that. And essentially you're looking at a very costly process where there are hidden costs and so, like hidden and visible costs. And by hidden, your leadership is actually investing their time, their invaluable time, interviewing candidates rather than getting job done, getting the things done that would otherwise propel the business forward. So that's how we work. We're a B2B startup. And the way that we're able to, really build this process is by establishing recruitment as a partnership rather than a transaction. And we believe the way to create that change is through keeping the companies accountable and giving them the power. But in doing so, building us as the bridge in between them and really bridging that disconnect that's existed for decades.
I like how you say it's a partnership, not a transaction. I think that's a really great sentence summary of like, because it does feel like a transaction. And when it's a transaction, it feels like it's really easy to treat people like they're expendable. And there's a lot of ghosting. I mean, I know I've been ghosted in job searches in the past, right? And you're like, what did I do wrong? Was it, did I not, even after interviews, right? Like you've talked to real people and yet they still don't respond to you. And so it's like, oh, okay. And I would love to understand. So you talk a lot about hiring and recruiting and building teams. How are you building your team at Octopus?
I love
What does
that.
that look like?
I love that question. We actually hired like one intern and our product designer using the prototype of Octopus. We did that and it was
I
actually
love it.
successful. And next to that, we've been also helping founders hire with Octopus as well. As we speak, there are founders on the platform who that we're making their lives easier. So that's an incredible one. And one founder recently told me, like, this is amazing. I'm able to see who these candidates are actually are, because I look at the resumes and I'm like, okay, brand names, these bullet points that don't actually, because okay, you've scaled the growth, let's say 30% month on month. Great, but what was your contribution there? Like, were you, for example, a team player, a leader? Like, were you an individual contributor? Did you create that project, or were you the sort of the glue on that team? Like, it's so disconnected. It's like we're considering all of these things and we are not really considering the context of it, because if someone like me, for example, if I'm given the resources, then of course I'm going to succeed. But if I work in a company that expects me to, figure things out on my own, and I'm someone, let's say, who expects those resources to be provided, I won't be able to achieve the same level of success. And that's where really the cultural fit part comes in.
Mhm. No, that's a really good point. And also soft skills. I know we chatted about that previously, but like, can you talk a little bit about how you are kind of dealing with soft skills? Because I think that's something, especially founders, like for the podcast audience, like, we all have to do everything, right? As a founder, like you're doing all the things. And there's a certain amount of soft skills I feel like you develop in the process of being a founder. But then how do you kind of put that out there on your resume, right? What does that look like? How do you guys measure that?
So, with the feedback told us that we should measure soft skills as a required, nice to have, or not required. So, how you use Octopus essentially, you drop your job description in, and then from there, we help you auto create a pre-interview that is only created for your specific job description, which means that a pre-interview from a company, even hiring for the same role, will not be same because you have different cultural values. In terms, so we're addressing that in two different dimensions. One is the soft skills part where you tell us, okay, this is required, this is not required, and nice to have based on the extracted soft skills that Octopus extracts for you. And second is in terms of the cultural values. So, for example, let's say you're someone who cares about leadership as is a company value. So you would have leadership be translated into the specific occupation that you're hiring for. You would have leadership, let's say, be translated for the software engineer role that you're hiring for, and also the marketing manager role. And these are manifesting themselves in different ways, because a software engineer obviously won't be able to, have the same level of leadership a marketing manager is able to play in. So this also helps recruiters in understanding what do I really look at for in these specific occupations. And that's where really, as Octopus, we're able to make a difference because we've trained our language models on occupational global databases where we're able to really say, okay, for this specific position, these are some of the soft skills that we see are being preferred and that are essentially provided by these global databases of occupational systems.
That's very cool. I love that because I think again the soft skills get missed. You know, everyone looks for those hard certifications, hard skills, and but they don't look for like the nuance.
Yeah.
And so I love that. What does this year look like for you? So as you guys grow, like what are your big plans? What are your goals?
Yeah, I wish I we had enough time for that. Like if I it's just too long. Like remember we've spoken what a month ago or now or
Yes.
so, but so much has changed and I'm really excited for everything. One likely I'm planning to have at least like 10 guests and then the podcast that I'm going to be launching. It's called Unfiltered Conversations. It's unlike any podcast that you've heard. It's no BS podcast where we're able to really have unfiltered conversations to create impact, to really focus on change. Like it's real life examples of real people like myself, like other professionals who are able to learn from their experiences, and they're going to be bringing their experiences unfiltered raw so that you're able to learn from them, and then you're able to point out to that to your manager and say, well, that works, they did it no matter how hard it was. Now you have the data, the evidence that it works. Let me give you one example, for example, to this. We have one guest who will be joining me who used to work in agencies. And as you know, it's really common in agencies that recruitment is more transactional because you're essentially almost like dealing your way through recruitment. You have these bunch of resumes that you're supposed to send in, and that's how it works in the agency side of things, unless you're doing headhunting, and it's very nuanced and specialized, and then you have more personal relationships. But she said, like, I was in that toxic environment. I said, one day I woke up and I said that this doesn't feel right. So she left the agency side of it. She has built her own boutique agency where she's able to support candidates in terms of really building that wholehearted connections with them. And she's now fully candidate experience driven because she's experienced that transactionalism was not the right approach and didn't really fit with her values as well. So she felt like, I didn't recognize myself, is what she said. So similar stories are what we're going to be bringing to you, and all the work that we're going to be doing is really brutally honest to the point, because now we're really at a point where we're no longer able to say, okay, how to elevate talent acquisition. Like it's just past time that we talk about these. There are millions of people who are searching. There are millions of organizations who are trying to find the right talents. And we have to talk about, the elephant in the room. We have to address that elephant in the room and focus on how do we build bridges. So, in terms of how this year looks like for us, I would say more events that we're going to be bringing up in strategic partnerships that I'm not able to disclose. More exciting integration partners coming soon. We are planning to make ourselves more visible in terms of like startups and organizations with limited resources, and they might not even have an HR department. So that's sort of the people that we're targeting, and really try to understand how we're able to have them make an impact, to give them the ownership. We do also have some exciting campaigns that are coming up, and I'm really excited for. And we're pouring in all that creativity into making ourselves visible our way, and that's also something that I'm really excited about. Well, tentacles forward. I wouldn't, again, as I mentioned, like this could go on and on. There are just so many exciting things that are coming up.
Love
And
that. I would love to also hear a little bit, just as we wrap up, what's been difficult, as you build this company, right? Because I know you've been, and I know a lot of hard questions, but what's been difficult? Because I think that's the question that like resonates the most with people who are in it too right now, like in the thick of it. And it makes them feel better to know that they're not alone.
to start, really, like, what kind of a hardship should we like filter in a hardship time?
No, no, not no, we can be unfiltered. It's like a mini preview of your podcast, right? Like unfiltered right here.
So many different things. Like one is if you belong to certain categories, let's say if you're neurodiverse, if you're a female founder, if you're an underrepresented founder, I'm part of these three communities, which essentially make me not really fit in neatly with even the entrepreneurial boxes. Like, and entrepreneurs are supposed to overflow, but the the box, the mold that we have for entrepreneurs are very stereotypical. Like we're changing this, we're moving the needle forward, but that's how it used to be. And that's why there are still so many barriers to entry to this. So again, like so many things I could just talk about, but to start with this categorical obstacles, that's a term that I coined to really illustrate what's going on. I wouldn't identify as an immigrant founder myself, and I didn't really know what was going on in this space. Like, why am I actually getting these obstacles, facing these obstacles? And then I joined a community by a VC, and they're doing an incredible work in the space, and they're supporting immigrant founders. And then I realized, oh, I had my aha moment where I'm able to see these people are on the same boat too, regardless of their gender. It's actually the particular categorical bias that we belong to, and that's immigrant, that's minority, that's whatever you call it. It's just it makes us stay out of the predefined tracks, and therefore the systems are not really built for us. So, in terms of this, I would say it's really hard because I haven't been able to be part of any in-person ecosystem really. Like initially we were in Europe, and then second we moved things over to the US, and now things politically are taking a very interesting turn. I don't even know if, yeah, that's a whole different conversation. But essentially, doing this all remotely has been the most difficult challenge because this means that instead of being able to get those people in a networking event and build real connections where I'm able to meet them in person, this means I have to, find people on LinkedIn to email them, cold email. And it's really hard. Attention is the most scarce resource today. So that's one obstacle that I could say. Another obstacle I could also mention here is, you know, I had a lot of struggles finding the right co-founder. I know you wanted to get into this as well. And I know that as women, many of us are not really sure what a co-founder should be like or the value that they should be able to add. I'm really grateful that I'm working with Ahmed, my co-founder, for the last 2 years. But before that, I actually had 9 co-founder mismatches.
Oh my goodness, I didn't realize it was that many. You need an octopus for
Um,
co-founders.
it's the journey itself is like, I think the closer that you get to finding the right person is the closer that you can get to your core. Like, what defines you? Cherry Tree, I think, is the name of the organization that's working in this space, like co-founder coaching and everything. They have also great templates as well. Um, Finding a co-founder, I like it's really treated as an asset, but it's actually your life. It's who, you're able to complement yourself, you'll complement each other with. It's the strengths and improvements and how you're able to really, essentially be the halves of something together. Um, for me, that was really, the difficult part. And funnily enough, Amit and I have been working remotely. We haven't been able to see each other because visas did not really allow us to do that. So that's also the systematical barriers that I'm really talking about. And essentially, it's really at a point where you do it anyway. Like you face these obstacles and you have to do it anyway. And let fear fuel you. Let all these things fuel you. It's just this is the nature of entrepreneurship. There is no easy way to it. And it's really like this year was where I feel I really understood what grit and conviction and determination like literally have meant. Like we're spreading these terms, especially like investors like buzzwords, but I don't think that many of us actually understand them as we should. This journey is really, really hard and even harder when you're coming from an underrepresented community or different communities that are subjected to these categorical biases. Has no idea with who you are. I think you're incredible, you're perfect the way that you are, but the systems are simply not built for people who overflow. That's why we're building them on our own
I
terms.
love that.
That's so that they're more inclusive.
That's fantastic. That's a perfect ending. I do have one more question, which is my favorite question, but I love that ending. That's a good line. What are you currently reading is what I typically ask at the end.
I'm actually reading multiple things, I think. Well, one is it's a bestseller by Hilke Schaumann. It's called The Algorithm, how I think AI helps us promote higher. It has this long description that's just been really good. In terms of what I'm reading, it's more like what I'm exposed to, I suppose, recently. For example, the seventh season of Black Mirror was recently like launched, and it left me with so many ideas on how to be able to do better. And more than reading, I think I've been doing a lot of researching. Like, for example, I found this startup that is focused to build startup cities. I found these investors who are literally backing like startup cities and these incredible, mission-driven people. And I think I've been able to, expand my horizon that way. Um, I'm consuming a lot of art also. Like I love poetry. I'm also a poet, so I also do that. Creation really is my medium. Um, yeah, I would say those are really the main things. And Black Mirror really it has been an incredible influence on my thinking recently. And the seventh season was actually really good. Like six was not. I could definitely say that six was
You know,
not.
it's funny how it happens like that. It's like, the first really good season, the second's kind of okay, and then
Yeah.
like it takes turn. I don't know. I don't have a lot of time for TV, but I love how you said it's what I'm exposing myself to. It's not just like what I'm reading, which I think is really interesting. That's a very actually neurodivergent way of thinking, I think, about like how you're inputting and taking in content and learnings. So I love that. Thank you for calling that out because it's perfect. And I want to see a poem about octopus. So hopefully you'll write one and you can put that out there. Maybe you already have, but I think that needs to be shared with the world.
Funnily
Um,
enough, I actually sent my first poem pitch to an investor. She hasn't seen it yet, but
okay, poems as pitches. That's like a whole nother podcast. I feel like that you could start as like pitches as poems. Maybe investors will be more likely to invest if they have like the poetic
no,
pitch. I
um,
love that.
I love that as well. She actually had this performance arts background, so I thought, okay, you know what,
Oh,
I'm
that's
gonna
perfect.
think her background and she's an incredible and I hope to be able to meet her. I found a lot of similarities in our journeys. She had this website where she said, you could send your pitch and how would you like to send it? So I chose as a poet because I'm like, okay, so this is my chance. Let's go. Let's write, let's poet like how do you even
That's
code
so
poetry?
creative.
Poetry pitching? I don't know. So I wrote a poem, and then what I realized is it's really like I got the email back. There was actually a language model in the background that would translate like
Oh,
whatever I wrote into a poem. But I actually wrote a poem improvising and then
that's so funny.
the language model took the poem and then turned it into a short linear poem. And yeah, I'm really
Love it.
curious on what she will think, and I don't know if she's received a poem as a startup pitch.
I'm sure not. I don't think I've ever heard that. So that's fantastic. Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, as we wrap up, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else that you want anyone to know or that you want to throw out there that we haven't discussed?
I would say it's really the time to address the root cause of the problem. Like, we have to focus on building the systems that see us and serve us. Um, we have had, like we've benefited from resumes. I wouldn't, definitely ignore that fact. But now we're really at a point where I'm literally shouting the industry, like, we don't need faster horses, like Henry Ford once said when he built the car.
Yeah.
Um, it's just really the breaking point where we have to think differently, and it's not just the corporate outside of the box thinking, but it's more like we really have to focus on the human aspect of things. I'm, for example, seeing this interesting trend. Like, it's almost separated. Like, for example, organizations that want to work with recruitment agencies that do not use an AI versus use an AI, and we have so many AI tools out there. And I really invite you to think deeply about the problem and just don't ignore it, because the reason that we're experiencing this problem, like, it has multitudes of layers that I could just talk on and on for ages. But to wrap it up, it's actually really about the human experience. Like, we're saying that AI is biased. AI is biased because human is biased. And
Hmm.
it's time that we say what is for as is, and essentially call things out for what they are. So if you can do that within your organization, you're already making a difference. And if
Mhm.
you're in the talent space and really caring about these things, then it already means the word to us, and you're already a tentacle that is where building the future of hiring with us. So thank you for sharing, thank you for caring, and we're really making a difference together. And this movement belongs to you.
Yes, thank you so much. I will link everything in the description. I'll link her new podcast, which sounds fantastic. I'm looking forward to listening to that myself. And if anybody wants to connect with her, please feel free to do that. And yes, welcome to the community. Welcome to Max Q. We're excited to support all the amazing things that you're doing.